Okay, welcome to our webinar training on an engineer's guide to Modbus testing, simulation, and programming. I will be introducing Modbus data concentrators that perform up to 200 Modbus RTU commands for reading and writing to Modbus slave devices and allow Modbus TCP masters to get the pulled data over Ethernet. I will be going over some free tools developed by ICP DAS for configuring and communicating with Modbus slave devices, including Modbus Utility and Modbus Master Tool. We provide Modbus-based programmable touchscreen controllers, and they can be programmed with HMIWorks, a free development software with an intuitive graphical design interface. We will be going over AVEVA SCADA supervisory control and data acquisition software that allows for creating dashboards to show your Modbus RTU and Modbus TCP equipment status, schedule operations, alerting and notifications, creating historical alarm pages and reports, trend charts, and more. We provide an ICP DAS Modbus API that includes functions and libraries for implementation of Modbus-based master communication on Windows-based PCs or programmable automation controllers. I'll also be introducing our free Easy Data Logger software that works with Modbus-based data acquisition equipment. Later in the training, Robert Murao, our senior technical support engineer, will be giving demonstrations of many of our Modbus software tools. If you have any questions, please enter them into the chat box and we'll address them at the end of the training. If you're working on any applications you want to go over, let us know. I'm Maria Santella, our sales manager here at ICP DAS USA. Been with the company 11 years and have previously held positions here as application engineer, technical sales engineer, and web developer. We manufacture our products in Taiwan. We ship orders out within 7 to 10 days for out-of-stock items and ship right away with any in-stock items. ICP DAS was established in 1993, and ICP DAS USA was launched in 2001. We offer ROHS compliant lead-free products and have our ISO 9001 certification, ensuring we meet product statutory and regulatory requirements. ICP DAS USA provides industrial control products and data acquisition solutions that are low DC voltage and operate in extreme temperatures between -13 Fahrenheit to 167 degrees Fahrenheit or -25 C to 75 C. Our products have metal housing or fire retardant plastic housing. We have a knowledgeable team, provide free application consultation, product specification, and free technical support. We help answer questions, help with setting up equipment, and troubleshooting issues. If you're going to buy a large volume of equipment, we can provide a configuration service for you. So before we ship, we configure everything, making your installation faster and easier. Our products are very reliable. They come with a 1-year warranty. And our free Easy Data Logger software allows for Windows-based data logging, control, and monitoring. Modbus is a serial communication protocol developed in 1979. It's used to transmit data between industrial electronic devices and has built-in communication and control functions. It supports multiple data types, including binary, floating point, 16 and 32-bit integers, and provides a standardized way to access information from remote devices. Modbus RTU communicates up to 4,000 feet, and that distance can be extended with a repeater like our I-7510. In this picture here, you can see a computer with an Ethernet cable going to our NS205 Ethernet switch. And you can see the ET7018Z thermocouple and analog-based input module connected over Ethernet cabling. And there's a thermocouple input through, you can see those channels, and that's connected taking temperature from a fan. And there's also a digital output that triggers the fan. Our M7000 Modbus RTU-based data acquisition modules support Modbus RTU protocol and baud rates from 1200 to 115,200 bits per second. They're configurable with the software utility we provide called DCON Utility. It allows you to search the network, configure and test I/O modules. To set it up and use it, you select the COM port on your computer or controller. Then you select the baud rates, protocol, checksum, and parity bit you're using, and then you search for your modules, and they're going to come up like you see here on the left. With DCON Utility, you can set the input types like 4 to 20 milliamp current input, 0 to 10 voltage input, or the thermocouple type. You can also set the desired power on and safe values. We also have DCON Utility Pro. That's also free, and it allows you to configure multiple modules at a time, saving you a lot of time in the configuration process. Our M7000 modules support Modbus functions for reading coils, discrete inputs and registers. They also support writing to coils. If the function specified in the message is not supported, they provide an error response with error codes. This is a pin assignment diagram for our M7060 digital input and relay output module. Wiring is done with insulated copper wires on the data plus and data minus, which are usually green and yellow. 10 to 30 VDC power input is applied on the plus VS and ground, usually with red and black wires. The 4 digital input channels are labeled IN0 to IN3, and the relay output channels on the other terminal block are labeled RL1 to RL4. M7060 has a DIN rail mount like all of our M7000 modules, and they can be piggyback mounted up to 3 modules high. You can set the IP address of our Modbus TCP-based data acquisition modules with eSearch Utility, and you can configure their IP address, network settings, and I/O types with the standard web browser. You can also set up I/O pairing if you want the inputs on one of our Modbus TCP-based data acquisition modules, like our ET7000 series, if you want them to trigger the outputs on another module. Our Modbus data concentrators collect data from multiple Modbus devices and aggregate that data into a single source for monitoring and control. The data can be retrieved by a SCADA system or other software like Easy Data Logger for analysis and decision making. Our Modbus data concentrators can perform up to 200 Modbus RTU commands to read and write to and from Modbus slave devices via RS-232 or RS-485. They allow up to 8 Modbus TCP masters to read and write data via Ethernet through onboard shared memory and are configurable and accessible through a web browser. The main advantage of using a Modbus data concentrator is it simplifies the communication process between multiple devices and reduces the number of communication lines. So it lowers the overall cost of systems and provides a central point of access for the data, making it easier to manage and maintain. Modbus data concentrators streamline industrial automation systems. They support multiple communication interfaces, RS-232, RS-485, and Ethernet. They support Modbus RTU, Modbus TCP, and Modbus ASCII. They have onboard data logging. They easily integrate with other systems, and they're scalable. Modbus Utility is a free software provided by ICP DAS for configuring Modbus TCP-based equipment. You can use it for configuring data acquisition modules, embedded controllers, including the ET7000, PET7000, TET series, the TPET. Those are all the Modbus TCP-based data acquisition modules. Also, the I7188E MTCP and the WinPAC 7186E MTCP series, which are C-language programmable controllers that communicate over Modbus TCP. The Modbus Utility includes a Modbus TCP and Modbus RTU client with VB6 source code. ICP DAS also provides a free Modbus Master Tool. It's software for testing and analyzing communication between Modbus slaves and Modbus master devices. It allows you to send Modbus commands out to slave devices and receive the responses, making it possible to test communication between devices and troubleshoot any issues that might arise. It supports many Modbus functions for reading and writing to inputs, coils, and registers. There are 6 easy steps to use the Modbus Master Tool. You open a file, set parameters, addresses, functions, connect, set values, and you save. Touchscreen PLCs, like our touchpads, are programmable in ladder logic and C language. They allow you to make different screens for navigation, and you can easily check the status of different Modbus I/O and equipment with them. The screens can be set up to flash or show green when the operations are normal, or red when they're in an undesirable state, or yellow when there is an error. Our TPD and VBD controllers can be set up as a Modbus master or a slave. We provide demo programs that show you how to read data from Modbus devices and access their registers, how to make the touchpad a Modbus RTU slave device, how to make it a master, how to use different widgets we provide, like the slider and the buttons and all that. We also have demo programs for showing how to use counters, display temperature from Modbus devices, read data, access different I/O information, control lighting, and more. This is the HMIWorks development environment workspace. In the center is the frame design space, and whatever you put there is what your screens on your device will look like. And then if you double click any object on the screen, it takes you to a programming page where you can put ladder logic or C language in your same project. Then there's inspector and libraries tabs where you can set attributes like text or font color. And then there's a results area at the bottom where you can see outputs and error information. The widgets are dynamic and can change at runtime. There's checkboxes, buttons, sliders, labels, and hotspots. AVEVA Edge is SCADA software that allows for building a graphical user interface for machines, manufacturing plants, kiosks, and more. It's easy to use, has a drag and drop double-click type interface for mapping up images and objects to your control and I/O Modbus equipment. It allows you to create dashboards. You can have different users set up where different users have different permission levels to access different places in the application. You can also send out alerts and notifications, for example, by email or text message. You can also set up historical alarm pages where you can see the status of temperature over time, which might indicate a problem, like a leak in the building. Different kinds of licenses are available for this software. They're vary based on tag count, which is the I/O, the variables, and the objects in your application. We offer the development licenses, which allow for developing applications, runtime for running applications, and also the development and runtime in one. You can get the license on a USB hard key, or you can get a text-based soft key that you enter in to license the system. We can ship hard key orders out within about a week, and we can email you soft key license within a business day. So this SCADA software can also be used as a Modbus tool for testing your applications. API, or Application Programming Interface, it's a set of protocols, routines, and tools for building software and applications. They allow for bringing different applications together to perform functions, share data, and execute processes. They often help with accessing databases, managing cloud resources, and helping with user authentication. We provide an ICP DAS Modbus API. It includes functions and libraries for implementation of Modbus-based master communication on Windows-based PCs or programmable automation controllers. ICP DAS Modbus API includes many functions for reading and writing to registers and coils, getting status, and more. Many Modbus commands are supported, including coil, read discrete inputs, read input registers, and writing to coils. Error codes provide information for troubleshooting and debugging applications like timeout, socket error, check error, listen error, and more. You can use a Modbus library with an API to communicate with Modbus devices to access Modbus data from a C# or VB.NET application. First, you choose a Modbus library. There's several Modbus libraries available for .NET applications, both free and commercial. Some popular options include N-Modbus, Easy Modbus, and Modbus TCP IP library for .NET. You install the Modbus library and you install it in your C# or VB.NET project. You connect it to your Modbus device. In your code, you create a Modbus client object and you establish a connection to the Modbus device. The specific code for that step depends on the library you're using. Then you can read or write Modbus data. Once you're connected to the Modbus device, you can use the Modbus client object to read or write data. And then most of the libraries for reading and writing data are specific to the Modbus addresses. ICP DAS provides N-Modbus SDK with Modbus RTU and Modbus TCP demo programs, which include functions for getting the coil status, holding register information, and also getting different status. It includes demo programs for Modbus Master and also Modbus TCP Slave. For the master programs, there are demo programs for getting the coil status, which is the on or off status. Also for getting the information from holding registers, which often holds information like measurements, like I mentioned about the current, 4 to 20 milliamp current, their different temperature, voltages, or pressure. It also has input register information and the status. We provide free Easy Data Logger software that allows you to quickly and easily set up a Windows-based control and monitoring system. It allows for communication over Modbus RTU and Modbus TCP. You can use little objects that are available to map up to your I/O, like numerical displays or trend graphs that show the status of your measurements. You can also use Easy Data Logger with other vendors' Modbus devices as long as you have one of our Modbus devices in the network. So now I'm going to pass it over to Robert Murao for just demonstrations of Modbus tools.
Okay, let's see. Can you see my screen now, Maria?
Yes.
Okay, let's see. I just wanted to go over one quick thing that I saw in Maria's presentation. With our controllers, our Windows CE and Windows embedded controllers, we offer the demo programs like Maria said called N-Modbus. I just want to show you where to find the demo programs. That's a question often asked by customers. So you want to go to our product website and go to the product which you have purchased or are interested in. Then it's a software tab or link that is right below the picture. That'll bring you to the software page for this controller. And then let's see, right down here under N-Modbus, we have Visual C.NET and Visual B or VB.NET demos. So you just click on the little disk right here, and it brings you to the screen which Maria showed you. We have both Modbus RTU and Modbus TCP demo programs for most of our controllers. If you have a different programming language or want a more specific demo program or help with your demo programs, we can also help you with those, but just want to show you the basics. So for Modbus RTU, we have both Modbus Master and Modbus Slave programs. So if you want to make your controller a Modbus Master to your slave devices, you just select the function which you want to duplicate, and you can incorporate these demo programs into your actual program to what do you call read and write to coils, read and write to holding registers, or monitor and read the input registers and digital inputs as well. And again, we have both Modbus RTU and Modbus TCP demos. You just click on them and they'll bring you to both the master and slave demos for each. And within each subdirectory, there's demo programs for all the different types of I/O for Modbus. Let's see, with the WinPAC and XPAC controllers, they're Windows embedded controllers, and they run Windows CE or Windows Embedded. Basically, what that means is you can multitask and run basically a Windows PC type environment in your controller, and therefore you can multitask and create your own programs in a Windows environment, and you can transfer to the WinPAC or XPAC controllers. This also allows you the ability to run SCADA software at the same time, or monitor and implement multi operations or multiple application environments or automated processes from the same controller. Like for instance, if you have a production line which can create multiple size objects or multiple size widgets, you can double click on the program to run the small widgets. And then like when that shift is over, you can double click on the program to run the bigger widgets. And you can create multiple programs, and just with a Windows type environment, you can execute those type of applications and operations. And the same for monitoring and controlling your environment. Okay, the next software which I want to show you is our Easy Data Logger software. This is compatible with our Modbus RTU and Modbus TCP and DCON data acquisition modules. You must have at least one of our devices in the application to run both the free version and the paid version. I'll show you the difference in a minute. Just want to show you it's available on our software link from our homepage, and it's just right here, Easy Data Logger. And it brings you this page where you can download the software itself. Listed below, these are the limitations of the software. So for the free version, which as long as you have at least one of our devices connected, let's see, it has these limitations: up to 32 virtual tags and 64 I/O tags, so whether those are digital or analog, up to 64 tags for the free version, and up to 1024 for the advanced version. And the advanced version also allows you to run Easy Data Logger up to 3 machines. So you can have 3 PCs running Easy Data Logger. Oh, by the way, this is a PC-based data acquisition software, so I will show you an example of it in a minute. But again, the I/O tags are based on total digital inputs, digital outputs, analog inputs, and analog outputs. And as long as you have at least one of our data acquisition modules connected, you can connect to third-party devices as well for both the advanced version and the basic edition. Okay, this is our Easy Data Logger software. This is just a demo or simulation that comes with the software, but you can create your own configuration with your tags and a layout to show your application happening. Let me move this over here. It popped up on my other screen, but this is just an example of what some of the widgets that are in Easy Data Logger. Like for instance, you could just have a label widget which shows your analog input or analog output value numerically. You can create gauges or have digital lights or indicators to show digital I/O status. You can also create buttons to control digital output values, and you can also use slider widgets to control the analog output registers within Easy Data Logger. One of the main features that customers want to use is the trend curve. Let's see, let me slide this back over to you so you can see this. Let me put it in simulation mode so you can, oops, that's a little loud. It's an alarm condition. Whoa. Come on, stop. Okay, let's see. Sorry about that. The alarm is triggered by what do you call it? The IO being out of range when we're in simulation mode. But when you actually create your project, let me go back to the trend curve. Where'd you go? Oh, I closed it. Okay, so you can create a nice graphical interface which shows your analog IO status, what do you call it, real-time values, and it also data logs the values as well. So you can create multiple groups within the configuration. Let me just show you an example of this. Let's see. Let me enlarge it a little bit. Okay, so with the interface, you have the option to create Modbus RTU, Modbus TCP, or DCON configurations, as well as a few others that are supported by our devices. The most popular are Modbus TCP and Modbus RTU, which is shown here under Modbus serial. So for instance, if I wanted to create a Modbus RTU connection, I just create a connection. Let's see, you select the COM port which your device would be connected to. I don't have any right now, but if you did, it would show up here. You create the, what do you call it, port, and then over here you add your device. Let me just slide this over. Okay, so normally you'd be able to select here, but since I didn't have a port connected, I'll show you a Modbus TCP example in a second, which would be virtually identical, but let's see. Actually, I already have a Modbus TCP connection created in this project, so let me just select this and I'll show you how to configure. So basically you can, if you have one of our modules, you can use the profile shown here, which should just populate the fields for you. So for instance, PET 7053 has 16 digital input channels. So numbered 0 through 15, and it just simply populates the bottom, but it's the same thing as if you were to add your own device. Let me just do that. Enter automatically. Just check the box next to the appropriate what do you call it, Modbus register types that you have in your device, and you just enter the ranges. So for instance, if you had holding registers, which were numbered 0 to 16, you just do this, put 15, and you select the data format shown here, and then you just simply click add, and it would show up here in the list. Let me just show you down there. It's this connection right here, which I just created. With this software, it's our free data logging software package. It's designed for use with both our Modbus RTU, Modbus TCP, and DCON modules, but you can also incorporate your own third-party devices as long as you have at least one of our data acquisition modules. So for instance, if you were monitoring and controlling some analog input channels, you could use our ET 7026 module. And then if you had an alarm module, which also communicates via Modbus, you can use Easy Data Logger to trigger an alarm condition from that alarm module. Okay, let's see. So again, this is a PC-based data acquisition software, which we offer for free as long as you have at least one of our modules, or you can buy the paid version, which if you want to use third-party devices only, you can do that as well. That's $729. The next piece of software which I want to use, or I'm sorry, show you, it's our free Modbus Master Tool. It's very much like, what do you call it, for testing communication to either your Modbus TCP or Modbus RTU devices to verify communication, test, create test conditions, like say you want to trigger some digital outputs to turn on and turn off, and just verify that your device is configured properly. In real time, you can see the values shown here in the registers. This, for instance, is set up for reading input registers channels 0 through 10. You can, create your own definition and add multiple windows as well. But say, for instance, we had a slave ID of, I don't know, maybe 5, and we wanted to read some holding registers instead of input registers, and we want to do, say, 50 registers. and their float type. You could just modify this here and it would show here. And then you create your connection and connect. You slide this back over. For this one, it would be Modbus TCP, and we just put our Modbus TCP slave devices IP address here and port 502. If it's a different port, you can modify that. You can also communicate to Modbus RTU devices in the same way. Let me just modify this. Well, I guess I don't have any COM ports connected, but if you did have what do you call it, serial devices connected with the serial port, like even just using a USB to RS-485 converter, it would show up as a COM port and would just show up in the drop-down menu and allow you to specify the baud rate and parity options to communicate to your slave device. This is a great tool for both testing out your Modbus RTU and Modbus TCP devices, whether it be our device or a third-party device. This is a software package we offer for free on our website. It's called Modbus Master Tool PC. And it's very much like a few others. I think it's Mod Scanner was a mod poll that looks exactly like this, but it's basically the same concept where you just use this to test your connections to your slave devices. The opposite condition where you have a Modbus Master, like one of our WinPAC or XPAC controllers, you can use a software package which I was shown by a customer actually. It's called Mod RSSim. Let me just slide this over for you. And with this one, you can simulate use your PC as a Modbus either RTU or TCP slave device. So if you wanted to test communication from your Modbus Master, you can set the software up to mimic the Modbus RTU or Modbus TCP slave device. So for instance, if you had a Modbus TCP master connecting to this, you simply click here and actually, I'm sorry, I misclicked. Where'd it go? It is this one. Okay, so for instance, right here, you'd specify your IP address and show what device you're connecting to. Let's see, TCP, and you can select holding registers, input registers, digital inputs and digital outputs. This is not a software which we offer, but again, it's a very useful software that a customer showed me that I wanted to just show you in case you didn't know that slave simulators were also out there. If you have any questions, let's see, please enter them in the chat box and we'll be happy to show you. If you have any questions about any of the software packages we showed, please feel free to ask about that too, and we'll go over those answers for you too. And we can discuss any applications which you have if you want to as well. Those are shown, on our website.
And after the webinar, within the next day or two, we'll be sending you the information and things that you've seen in the webinar and corresponding links and all that.
Okay, I do show one answer. Hi, could you please share the Modbus slave simulator link? Let's see, it's called Mod RSSim. Let's see, I don't know if we can share a link because it's not technically our software, but I can send it to you, Diego, and we can, or maybe we can post it. I'll talk to Maria about that. Any other questions? Let's see, if you want to ask your question live, of course, let's see, click the raise your hand icon and we'll unmute you so you can speak as well. See, I don't see any other questions, but using the tools that we provide and, many other third-party Modbus utilities and tools, it makes Modbus a great protocol to use in your applications. We offer other protocols in our hardware that you can also use, but Modbus RTU and Modbus TCP are two of the ones that I would strongly recommend using in your applications. Let's see, please feel free to contact us with any questions or applications which you'd like to discuss, whether it uses Modbus RTU, Modbus TCP, or any other protocol, and control applications. Maria, you have anything else to add?
No.
Okay. We look forward to seeing you all next month for our next webinar. Do you have the topic of that, Maria? Next month, we will be discussing field bus technology.
Field bus.
So we'll go over all the different protocols, CAN protocol, device net, Profibus, Profinet. So if you have any questions about those type of products, we're going to present on those, and we'll be happy to answer your questions on those products as well.
Thanks for attending our webinar today on Engineer's Guide to Modbus Testing, Simulation, and Programming. And if we can help you with any projects, feel free to contact us anytime.
Okay, bye-bye. See you next month.
Thank you.